Hello, I'm Mark Coyle. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at ESG Global. We operate in Japan, USA and UK. And we provide the software that empowers the best energy companies to give digital customer service and operations in this modern era. And we support about 20 million customers around the world. I'm an NTU student back in the 1990s and very proud to be part of the Alumni Fellowship supporting graduates. So, networking, a big subject. How important is it, was the first question I was asked. Well, it's been a key part of my career since the early 1990s onwards. There have been a lot more opportunities to network, both personally in terms of conferences, getting involved in sector meetings, meeting my sector peers and growing with them through our sector. But also, of course, with online has been the growth of platforms, both social media, but importantly, LinkedIn, which really is the main platform that everybody uses for networking. Now, it's very important these days, particularly in a business-to-business environment, because people are buying from people, essentially. And so getting to know them, trusting each other, becoming friends over time as well, and your clients and your business starting to merge in terms of the interpersonal relationships, that's very important to growing business over a long period of time. And so for me, networking has been at the core of everything I've done, but not in an artificial or forced way. I've just tried to make it part of how I operate day to day, to enjoy it, to like the people I engage with, and to grow through the interactions with them. Now, I've mentioned that can be both personal, and that there's no substitute for that. Online is great, but meeting people individually or in groups, having drinks with them, coffee in the day or after the day, really does create a bond between you and some trust. And if you say you're going to network with someone, you meet them, you say you're going to meet afterwards, it's important to follow through on that, to really show that you're interested in what they have to say, not to challenge people, but to engage in debate and to start to build a common dialogue and understanding of each other over time. Now, I have relied on my network in a number of ways. It has to be appropriate, so you can't short circuit the timescales or legal frameworks for bidding or closing business. But I have developed relationships that have led me to get to know people that have gone on to be roles over time. I've gone into recruitment processes where I've already known the people involved. The recruitment process has fallen away, and it's really been a meeting of minds in how I've then joined that company. And that's the best form of networking, when it's organic, when it's natural, and it's developed over a fair period of time, quite in the way that you live your lives together. In terms of projects or business, that's more difficult because networking can step over the line of what's appropriate. And so you have to know what's sensible, what's allowable, and to not go over that threshold, because that's the point where networking becomes influencing, and that can be both inappropriate, but it can also put your contacts, the people in your network, in a very difficult situation, and they won't thank you for that. In terms of recruiting people into business, I've got to know people both more senior than me and less senior than me over time. And I've been growing from a very rudimentary career level all the way through. I joined National Grid for one day. That took me to be there for 10 years and to quite senior levels. Then they sold that part of National Grid to another company, and on it goes. So the network I've established over time and the people I've got to know, it's never really fed explicitly into, I want Mark, let's take him on in that way. Or indeed for me to do the same with other people. But the fact that people are around that network, you get a sense of who they are, of their credibility, the links they have, the work that they've done. That's really where it's most useful. So that sense of being in a network, of growing that network and being an active participant is really important, because both in finding people you want to hire, but also being that person, it really will be helpful for others to see you in the right context and for them to be receptive to you before you're even in the room of the conversation. Now, in terms of what it takes effort, and you've got to be proactive about it. Networking won't come to you. That can mean going the extra mile in terms of time out of your working environment. It might mean going to a meeting when other people don't want to, or going to a lecture at night, going to a conference. Being receptive to the things that are going to grow your network is absolutely core to how you'll grow it over time. looking for those opportunities, taking them, being positive, being the kind of person that people want to be around is important, because then the network will grow naturally over time. People will like you, they'll want to see you, they'll ask if you're going to an event, they'll start asking if you might go and speak at something for them. And that becomes self-fulfilling. You start to bring people into your network, they start to bring you into theirs. And over time, you'll find that it's just a rolling series of benefit that you don't really have to think about too much anymore. In terms of recommendations, first be gradual. Don't go too fast in this. You can't over-engineer networking links. You've got to get to know people over time. And those people have got to be appropriate to you. Don't go 5 levels up to the head of a corporation, because they're going to be busy. They'll wonder why you're in touch. They might find it inappropriate. So find the people who are like you, start to get to know them, build the network with them, be age appropriate where that's sensible as well, and be respectful of people's time. It's also important not to ask for too much in networking with people. It's okay to ask them a question or to say, how do I do this? But not to ask them maybe to share their whole business strategy or to write something of great length for you, because they're busy too. So respectfulness is important, and so is being proportionate in your networking, in the things you ask people to do for you. Be appropriate, as I say, and enjoy it. Take the time to be with people, to get to know them, to understand a diversity of opinion. Networking isn't about just meeting your friends. You really want to meet and get to understand the viewpoints of people who aren't like you, who come from different political backgrounds or business interests, or maybe who are from a different era to you in terms of how they approach business. Because there's great value for you and them in understanding each other, in building a network together, and being reciprocal in the benefit you can bring to each other. And that's really important, that networking is mutual. It's by consent. And so if you don't put the effort in, your network will fade away. Equally, if someone contacts you and says, can you help me here? It might be a bit of extra time, but if you can and if it's sensible, help them. Because it's going to be rewarding for you, it's going to be helpful for them. And what you'll find is that the network starts to grow beyond just the people you meet, because others will say, go and speak with that person. They've been really helpful. This person has some great views. And over time, you'll find that the network then does start coming to you. Whereas at first, you have to make the effort. Over time, you'll find that you don't. Now, you still should, of course. You should still want to. Networking takes a lot to maintain. And so I recommend thinking in your working day and beyond, what am I interested in? Who are the people I'd like to get to know? What are my real kind of motivations for wanting to get in contact with people and network with them? If those things are genuine to you, if they're authentic to the things you're interested in your worldview, in where you're going with your life and how you want to live it, you'll find that the network connections then are so much more rich in terms of how you feel about them. And the people who maybe have a completely different mindset, it's fine for them to be in your network, but they won't be as active. Now, I think that then takes us finally to the forms of networking. There's both the world of going to meet people in the physical world, as I mentioned, at events and so on, and there's also online. And in the middle of that is the kind of personal direct contact. Now, that might be outside a formal platform, and increasingly will be through social media. It may be meeting them for a drink or a coffee, or getting to know them as kind of people and friends. That's all fine. It's important to know where the line is in networking and friendship, and not to confuse the two. It's also important, as I mentioned before, to keep going, be proactive, and to do the things that you'll say you'll do. It's not just about people networking with you, it's about thinking about how you can help them over time. By being authentic, by being natural, by building it up over time, people will come to understand that you get it, that they'll want you part of their network, and that therefore they will reciprocate with you. And what you can ask of them and what they'll ask of you will grow over time. And it might offer you new opportunities, a career path, some encouragement to where you could go, and some mentoring. And that's great. But the key thing is to take the time to get there. I'm now 30 years into my energy career. I only joined energy for one day. I've got career before that as well. And what that has meant is I've built up lots of contacts over time. I can't maintain them all, but there's a core there of trust with a group network where we can rely on each other over many decades and come back to each other. And that's of many different types of people at different ages, both genders. It's important that you don't just go with the people you're comfortable with in your networking. And I'm delighted to say that now that's what I value in my career, that network, the people I know, the people I have business friendships with, that's what's most rewarding of all. And the work itself comes and goes, but those relationships last. And so networking has been important to me all through my career and the opportunities it's helped me take. It's also been valuable in terms of developing my life and my personal relationships. And it's also helped join everything together. A career isn't a series of disconnected events. It's a path that you follow over time. And the relationships that you make and the network you have is often what's left when the work is done. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I hope you enjoy having a network. You do use LinkedIn, but as I mentioned, follow those tips about being appropriate. Do meet people when we all can, of course, in the real world. And I hope it's of great benefit to you and you enjoy it as much as I have. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your time. Bye.